Give us just a little bit about the Carbon Disclosure Project, how you were set up, why you were set up.
Sure. Well, the Carbon Disclosure Project was launched and a speech that our founding chair, Tessa Tennant, gave at 10 Downing Street to Prime Minister Tony Blair on the 4th of December 2000. And since then, what we've done is worked with a growing group of investors to request from corporations they own information on their greenhouse gas emissions and strategy on climate change. It's a very efficient system for investors to get together and ask for the data collectively. So we made our first information request in 2002, and now in 2009, this year we represented about 400 investors with about 50 trillion US dollars of assets, and more than 2,500 of the largest companies in the world report their greenhouse gas emissions through our website, and a lot of other data related to climate change. And then information is made available to investors and also to the public from our website.
And you've recently gone beyond just asking companies for their information on greenhouse gas emissions to their supply chain. What was the thinking behind that?
Well, the authority of investors helps us gather data, and investors are interested in that data so they can make better investment decisions. And we noticed that people who were doing purchasing also wanted to know who they were purchasing from, whether they were efficient companies, whether they had climate-friendly products and services. And our first partner was Walmart stores, and in 2007 we partnered with Walmart and still do an increasing amount of work with Walmart. But then others followed, and companies like PepsiCo and Dell and about 50 large corporations now work with us to send the Carbon Disclosure Project questions to their suppliers. And actually, so do 17 different departments of the British government.
So you've got a well-established reputation in the greenhouse gas emissions field. And we noticed recently an announcement that the CDP put out about your investors that you work with are interested in water. Could you tell us a little bit about what the link is on that and what's the motivation behind it?
Well, climate change is a big issue for investors, and it's a big issue because, for example, greenhouse gas emissions are associated with so many industrial processes, and those greenhouse gas emissions are likely to be taxed or regulated. Already they are in many, many countries. So there are financial impacts, and also consumers are interested in greenhouse gas emissions. Now, water is a big impact from climate change. In fact, people don't really suffer from climate change. They typically suffer from water-related problems. We say if climate change is the shark and water is the teeth, that's where it really comes to bite. So what that means in practical terms is that there's already water scarcity in many regions of the world that's being pushed or forced, increased by climate change. There are also the most massive commercial opportunities. I remember the president of a major investment bank in Asia said to me, he sees water as the most fantastic bonanza. Countries like Singapore are recycling 99% of their water. What's that technology worth? Water is going to be integral to the climate change challenge for the next 50 years. And companies need to get smart, investors need to get smart about who's got problems with water and who can make money out of the solutions.
So tell us a little bit about the survey. What's it going to attempt to collect from companies?
What we're looking to gather it really, as always in CDP, is key information on risks and key information on opportunities. So on the risk side, to what degree are your industrial processes dependent upon water? For example, a nuclear power company in France lost about $300 million because of extreme weather was causing them not to have sufficient water to put through their nuclear stations. Or there are other examples of companies who've suffered different kinds of reputational problems with water, or have industrial processes that require large amounts of water that may not be available because there are changes in rainfall patterns. Conversely, who's got a business or businesses or technologies in water recovery and desalination or in alternative industrial processes that are less water dependent? Who can really capitalize on those opportunities and make money providing the solutions? And we see examples. For example, GE have a great business in eco-imagination, where water is a significant part of what that company does.
So when will the survey be going out, and who will you initially send it to?
The aim is to get our first information request out in April of 2010. And we're looking to target the 300 most water-intensive companies in the global 500. And that sample is the 500 most valuable companies in the world by market capitalization.
And then will you treat that information in the same way that you treat the greenhouse gas survey, in the sense that you'll collect it, you'll analyze it, and you'll release it much in the same, will you release it at the same time as you do the GSG inventory?
I mean, in fact, both on the investor CDP, on the supply chain, and the water. In fact, CDP staff do very little or analysis. We really just manage the data exchange. We encourage leading consultancy firms and others to summarize the data to help advertise its existence and draw people's attention to it. But what we want to do is we actually want to see a proliferation of analysis on that data. And there's nothing we like it more than when someone could be watching this video and says, well, actually, we want to produce some analysis based on that data. We'll welcome people to look at that data, produce their own analysis, and share it with the market.
And will a company be at choice again, as they do with the greenhouse gas, that they can indicate that they've sent the information in but don't want it disclosed, or yes, disclose the information?
Yeah, I mean, you look at my business card, it says Carbon Disclosure Project, and we do encourage corporations to make the data publicly available. But of course, it's the investors that want the data, and sometimes corporations feel more comfortable just to provide it to the investors. But we think in the longer term, I mean, if you look really a long way ahead, very likely that governments are going to mandate or regulate that this data's got to be made publicly available. So we're just kind of taking pigeon steps towards that ultimate goal.
So if a company receives a survey and they look at it and they have either I don't know, we don't know what's going on with our water, or we don't feel comfortable asking it, what's sort of the minimum bar that investors are looking to see from this initial survey?
Well, we believe that the most important thing is to get going. And it's okay to say, look, we haven't measured this, we don't know what the risk is, we don't know what the opportunities are. Then you're being honest. And statements like that are normally accompanied by another statement saying, but we're looking at it and we're going to get this data together for next year. Now that communicates to an investor a direction of travel, that the company is engaged properly with the issue and is thinking about it. And that actually sends a reassuring message. You haven't given any data, but you have said, look, we're paying attention to this. What's most worrying in the Carbon Disclosure Project or in CDP water disclosure is when a company simply doesn't respond, because then who knows? Who knows?